fucking hate when people.
Here's another reason why you want to take control of what you're doing.
Everything kind of funnels into the only winning move is not to play the game.
So I got to ask permission to buy the gun, and then I got to pay to ask permission to carry the motherfucker outside of my house. How about you go fuck yourself?
Yeah, and they still don't care either way. They still gonna tell me what the fuck I want to do anyway. You know what really drives me? You know what really grinds my gears? Since I'm gonna say what the fuck did you say? Is like I get really annoyed when people are like, oh yeah, I want to collab on something, right? Like business partnership, stuff like that. Okay, cool. Then the first line is, we're all equal. I'm like, okay, well, I'm exiting. Because I'm not equal to somebody who wants to start off the line, we're all equal. I'm like, no, I'm not a communist. Like, we all have our separate skills. Okay, fine. Hire me into my skills. And then we'll rock with it from there. And I'll be superior because I'm the best. But don't start out saying we're all... I swiped the message away. It's
we're all equal, man.
I know we all kind of are equal, but there is a hierarchy. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want me to join your team,
you have to.
I have a role,
right.
And I know it well, and I weigh it well on my Libra scale. Oh, that's the Lil Wayne line. Sorry, but anyway, no, we all have a role in here and stuff like that. Ken talks too much, and Bruce puts everything together, all that kind of stuff. But like, whenever you want to, I'm like, they're like, oh, you interested in, like, what happened was I just commented on like two people collabing together on a project, like for like podcast network thing. And I'm like, oh, that's a dope collab. They're like, you interested? I'm like, interested in what? I just said it's a dope collab. They join the team. I'm like, okay, well, DM me the details. And then of course this copy and paste information. So it's like boom, boom, boom in my thing. And the first line says, I'm like, oh, no, pay me. Fuck you, pay me. Bitch. I don't know you. I know you guys, so it's like whatever. But I don't know this motherfucker.
Well, we all doing this for free, man, because we poll ultimate entrepreneurs.
Well, there's that, but I'm not trying to be like that.
So how many people are hitting you up, Chris, going, oh, I can give you you can get a lot of great exposure if you work with me. And you can just tell them that people die of exposure every single day.
Oh, dude, I had a fucking call for a little over 2 hours with somebody the other day. What was that, Wednesday night? Because I came on Thursday.
Yeah.
We were doing State of Union. I was telling y'all how somebody was just fucking just talking circles.
You were up late. I remember that.
Yeah, I was up late on Wednesday night talking to somebody that repeatedly says they're all about their business. And then whenever I mentioned to them about, hey, look, there's going to be a minimum amount per month that I need to make, and then we can scale from there. I really haven't heard anything since. But you want to sit here and talk to me about how, they're like an over planner, because they're like, oh, there's all these different things I want to do. Excuse me, I want to change in the podcast that I got, but I'll change that next season. I'm like, what the fuck you running as seasons for? Like, it's not fucking ABC television.
It's a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, they're like, oh, well, I want to stop, and then in the summer I'll take a break to reformulate or whatever. I'm like, that sounds retarded. Like, why would you stop, And then they're like, oh, well, just like, I'll still be putting out stuff, once or twice a month or something like that. And I'm just like, no, like, okay, look, I get taking a little bit of break. You can't do this 52 weeks a year. I get that. You know what I'm saying? Podcasting is it is what it is. You got to stay steady with it. But like taking like a couple months break in the summer to start a new season with something, it's like, yeah, like, statistically people listen less to podcasts, consume podcasts less in the wintertime or summertime. You know what I'm saying? Because they're out doing shit. But you got to at least stay consistent with some kind of content. And then the thing is too, it's like, you're a one-man show. You're on your first season. Make all the changes you want to, And so, because I was telling them, I'm like, you only operate on Facebook. You need to be on all the other audio platforms. You know what I'm saying? Take your audio off there, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, I was thinking about doing that next season. But do it now.
Yeah, next season.
Well, because
the 7 people that are going to listen to you this season, 6 of you who are in your family, aren't going to care if you switch it up a little bit. So it's okay to do that. I mean, we're doing that right now as we start this thing out and restart it. It's
exactly.
Do it.
So many people just
make it quality to build it.
They just talk and just talk. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. No, just do it.
Chris, do it. Do it like we doing it. Do it like we doing it.
What's up, Jason?
Do it like we doing it.
Okay. So speaking of contacting, so speaking of contacting, did Nikki Haley or Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton ever get back to you on the whole thing of wanting to come over to your house for some nut milk?
No, they haven't came back to me on that one yet. They've been sending me some interesting videos and shit, but I haven't actually gotten them to come over, because like my condition is they all have to come at the same time so that they all come at the same time. You see what I'm saying? And I haven't actually got them to line the schedules up, because they're busy, they're all not working anymore and they're just talking shit. So I got to get
Heels
them
Up
to
Harris
actually.
is working, but she's going to have some free time soon. So Heels Up Harris is be
Yeah, but she's not really working. Come on now. You know how it is. The real people who run the country, and they just sit there and they just repeat what's told. That's how it goes. But no, I haven't been able to get them to come over yet, but I will soon.
So
well, welcome
today,
to the weather report, guys. And we're all here on a Sunday night. Just joking it up, hucking it up. It's the end of the weekend, and here we got Harkos here, Ken of Wisconsin, and Jason, and we got a special guest tonight. We're gonna bring him on right away because he kind of melds in with everything that we talk about anyway. And this is Aaron Deschatel from the I Had to Say It podcast, and we want to welcome him to the stage right now because this guy is fantastic. I want to tell you, I enjoy your podcast. It is in your face. It is unabashed. It is, to me, kind of like getting slapped in the head with the truth every day, or when you do your podcast. And we just thank you for coming on here, man. And we want to welcome you to Weather Report.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Are my levels all right and everything? Just
yeah, your levels are fine.
Yeah, it sounds like there's like a rave going on next door or something, though.
Okay, just let me dial that back a little bit.
Okay.
Better?
A little bit. I don't know. Maybe it's in my head. Can you guys hear that too, or is it like
a little bit?
voices?
It doesn't surprise me. I really turn the gain down as much as I can. That's my wife.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, no problem. Let her jam out.
Honey, I'm recording tonight, right? Oh yeah, no problem.
Crank it up.
I'm not sure what she's watching, but the surround sound is definitely turned on.
Hey, it's all good, man. I just wanted to make sure that it was actually there. It wasn't the voices in my head.
Yeah,
but yeah, we hear you perfectly fine.
They can be problematic. Okay, cool. I just want to check because I've been kind of messing around with my setup today, and so I got the mic moved, and I got because I took it upon a spur of the moment thing of like I need to clean up my mess so it looks a little more presentable here. I was like, I'm actually gonna be on a camera, and like I don't have cool stuff behind me to show anybody, so I was like, let me see if I can move this stuff around. And where my camera was, it was on a different monitor, so I was like,
it looks good because it kind of reminds me of early Alex Jones. Remember how, like, I don't know how long y'all used to watch Alex Jones, but early, like 2010s and shit like that, he actually had like a camera or a screen behind him.
Yeah, he did.
And then he had like his banner, and then he had his microphone, like he was canted. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't full on with the big production like he's got now, but when he got that Trump money. But like before then, he used to have it like that. I think it looks cool, man. It's like a mix between like that old school like Rush Limbaugh radio show style shit. It's dope. Yeah. And you got your banner right there behind you too.
Yeah, that's honestly. I'll give you guys full disclosure because this is not something I would probably normally say, but
it's okay. Nobody's watching. It's just us. Nobody's watching.
It's just us talking, and there's some people in the chat. But yeah, there's behind that green screen that's behind me is actually, for the time being, this is also the guest room.
Oh, there you go.
And eventually, it's going to be converted into my office, but we're doing some other renovations around the house, so.
So you still got the bed back there, so you wanted to green them out so it didn't look like you're on the OnlyFans set.
Well, that, and I also have I had to do some work on the bathroom, so the linen closet's all torn up, so there's like piles of towels, and it really, I mean, it looks that much more like an OnlyFans set because of all the towels and all the other shit piled up.
Right, yeah, you got to have towels to clean up. I mean, that's what we were just talking about whenever Hillary, Nikki, and Kamala come over to my house. I got to have plenty of towels clean.
You can have 20 or 30 towels for that mess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and there's like 3 bottles of conditioner, so people are gonna be like, "Dude, what's this weirdo into? He's bald, that's not for his head."
Well, I think your background looks fine. It's kind of like my background. It's my studio in transition, and I've had studios everywhere. I got kicked out of the garage, got kicked out of here, got kicked out of there. Now
I'm in my fucking closet.
Yeah,
so,
there you go.
Yeah,
just like Michelle Obama.
at some point I'm going to be at some point I'm gonna, when I get all the other home projects done, I'm building my wife an art studio, and then we're gonna move like the guest bed and everything into that room because they can be in there, and then this will be my office and get converted, and shelves will go up and cool shit will go on the walls, and a couple of pictures I got of Ken's art that's amazing that I can put up. Little ass kissing thrown in there for good measure.
You can like somewhat see like the fuzzies around with the green screen, but a lot of the time you can't. Actually, I thought it was just like I thought you had like a banner on your wall, kind of like I got my CDs.
Yeah, no, well that's the eventual plan, but right now it's just the green screen.
Well, when you're ready to make a banner, let me know. I'll do one up for you, and I know a place that can make them really inexpensively. And you get something cool set up for it. I'd be happy to help because, man, I fucking love your show. You know,
thank you. Yes.
Jason here, of course, from Horrible Designs, our friend Jason. He turned me on to your show, and I listened to the first one. I'm like, this motherfucker, this guy just says anything that comes in his fucking head. And then I was like, all right, I got to hear one more. Okay, I'm going to hear one more. And pretty soon I'd caught up with all of them. and so now I sit there. I'm kind of fangirling right now a little bit because I dig it. I mean, I just dig your show. You know, the world of podcasting and the internet has opened up the way people talk to each other, like all of us would be talking if we were all sitting around in my garage drinking beers. And you know, your show is just one of my go-tos. So I had to say it, podcast. You can get it anywhere. I listen to it on Spotify personally because that's where I get all my podcasts. But you can listen to it anywhere. But anyway, so welcome to the show. We really appreciate that you would come on to our little show.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that you guys are having me on here. I mean, once I heard you guys were getting started with this, I was like, all right, this ought to be cool. We'll see what they got to say. This will be good for a listen.
Now we got
also Jason. I've known for like 30 years, and
I've known you since we were in first grade.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like I said, 30 years ago, and yeah.
I just think when I listen to your podcast, I'm going like, this guy can't. I mean, you're not reading up a script, but you have a flow on your podcast that is just like boom, 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 and it's crazy. It's just, I think it's insightful. Number one, and it gets your blood going. Number two, I mean, and I love that stuff. And I love listening to the get your blood boiling type stuff, and you know, anything that can get me researching and looking and stuff like that, laughing at the same time, and also going like smacking your head.
Yeah, we definitely got to make sure that Bruce's blood is boiling, because if not, it'll just stop flowing because he's so old. But so we got to keep him listening to your show. So do you have like bullet points whenever you do yours too? Like I know I've heard you like you'll switch between topics and stuff like that sometimes.
Sometimes I
sometimes it just flows.
Sometimes it's
like, oh yeah, and then this bitch
stream of consciousness, hate, and or pettiness or rage, whatever it is that I'm trying to get out of my system, because it's like cathartic for me, right? It's like if I bottle all this shit up, I'm gonna have a stroke, and I don't need that. I mean, I need to be stroked, but that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what it is I sit down and I have, okay, here's my list of things I want to try and touch on this week, and I have footnotes and bullet points and a little outline and okay, I left my notebook in the living room. I have a little notebook that I jot stuff in during the week as it occurs to me. So I'm like, don't forget to be pissed off about this. Got sideswiped by a truck. Fuck these guys. You know, things like that. And that's just kind of, so I'll take that and I take my notes and I sit down and I have a rough idea of how I want to address it, particularly if it's something that's like globally relevant, because there are episodes that are purely just me being pissy about everything within a 30-mile radius of Chicago, and it's like, yeah, you know, it's I don't need as much fact checking on that because it's just the day-to-day crap I have to deal with, you know.
That's a lot of shit to be pissy about.
Well, it's a lot, yeah, and there's a lot that a lot of us have to deal with on a daily basis. You know, stupid people are going to be stupid motherfuckers no matter where you go on the globe. You're never going to find a shortage of assholes and dummies, and it's just the problem is a lot of the assholes don't realize that they're also dummies. And unfortunately, a lot of the dummies also don't realize that they're fucking dummies, because it's like a compounding thing. You can be a complete fucking idiot, and be completely unaware that you're a complete fucking idiot. You can have a master's degree and still be a fucking window licking troll. And people don't get that because they're like, oh, well, you really think I saw a meme of it. It's like, you really think I'm stupid enough to spend $60,000 to be indoctrinated and lied to? And it's like, yes.
Like, no, you're actually stupid enough to spend $260,000 to be indoctrinated.
And then you want me to pay for it.
Yeah.
That
was one of the things, like at the last job I was at, I was working at a restaurant on college campus. And I would, I'm a I think I got like 15 credits and I dropped out of college or whatever, right? So I'm like that one that all those people with the master's and doctorate degrees, like, oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? They catch you that side eye. And I'm just sitting here and like, they would ask the fucking stupidest questions. Like, it was a restaurant. So like I took a to-go tray and I wrote on there small in the small portion. And then in the other portion that includes the large, I wrote large. And I stapled it to the fucking wall right next to the menu, right next to the entree. And I would have people say, so what? So is this the small? And then only this section right here is the large? And I'm like, no, the large includes that section. Why would the smallest section be a large? Like, really? Are you fucking stupid? I thought you were a fucking engineer. Are you serious? You can't 1 + 1 = 17? Is that what you're trying to say?
This is why our roads are so fantastic. Those are the engineers.
Oh, exactly.
Back before we had college, they built roads that lasted 2,000 years in Rome. But
yeah. Well, we here on this podcast, we have a little saying that we like to say, and that's that the only winning move is to not play the game. And if you've ever seen the movie War Games, that's a quote that comes at the end of the movie. Yep. And when I listen to your podcast, that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it. It's like, why is everybody playing this fucking game? And everybody knows that anybody who's playing this game is on the losing end, except for the people that made the game, right? So I mean, that's kind of where I get my gist when I listen to you, or actually, and even when we do this podcast, this whole podcast actually derived from that saying. And what we do here, like I said, is we rant and rave about what's been going on in the news for the past week or 2 weeks since we hadn't been getting together, and then we kind of melded into everybody who has an interest in the podcast. All my podcast hosts, like Harkos, he's into marketing and music. Jason's into his 2-year-old thing that he's got going on, and Ken likes to talk a lot, so we just let him go.
Mostly I just like to talk. So speaking of talking, what I was thinking about, anyway, go ahead. You were in the middle of something. I so rudely interrupted you. And right, what were you saying, Bruce? I wasn't listening because I was talking so much.
Yeah, no shit. We were on a fucking consultation meeting where we were all supposed to have our own little section. And did you just hit mute on again? Well, we were all supposed to be having a conversation, and he just sitting there just talking nonstop. But it's all good. He ended up swindling the dude that actually come on our show one day, so that's dope.
Oh yeah, and that's what we do.
Aaron, so Aaron, when did you start this podcast, and why did you start this podcast? What got you interested in podcasting?
Oh, that's a good question. I started this podcast. Jesus, now I got a math. Thanks. Now I got homework.
You're stumping.
It came out August of 2020 was the first episode.
So during like lockdown,
before years,
lockdown.
Oh yeah, no, so I'm a chef, just for a little background. You guys listen to the show, you know that, but maybe somebody who's listening to your show doesn't know that. So yeah, go listen to my show, and then you'll hear me babble about what I do for a living. But so I was, and I avoided that first wave where, like, the Reaper came through and took every restaurant out of business. I was working in corporate services at the time, so I kind of, that was the blood on the doorway for me. I got passed over for that, and I was like, oh yeah, win, because like I said, 90% of the guys I know in the business were like, dude, what the fuck am I going to do now? They closed my place down. We had to go to all delivery. This sucks, and I'm like, well, executives still got to eat, so I'm straight for now. But so then the company I work for, I was working as a contractor. We were working for a very large facility, a very big company, without throwing any names out there because they're not paying me to talk about them. And they went down to a skeleton crew. Basically, everybody in executive tier was working from home, so all the food service guys get downsized too. But the company I work for was actually really good to us, all things being considered, because a very significant portion, not everybody, but a very significant portion of us across the country got put on furloughed status instead of laid off. So they kept our benefits active for until the end of 2020. And actually, no, until the first quarter of 2021, they kept our benefits paid all the way through there, even if we weren't working, because they took care of us. Now, unfortunately, I missed that first round of unemployment bonus money. Like, I got like 2 weeks of those big fat checks, and then I was back to like $300 a week. Because
you got the first. I think the first one was like $1,400 or something like that.
So something like
I
that.
was so fucking pissed I didn't get laid off when that shit happened.
Yeah.
Right?
We stayed open.
I was begging my because at that time I was only making $800 a week, right, before that.
Yeah. So
And unemployment would have gotten me to $900 a week. And I'm like, I told my boss, I was like, yo, lay me off. I'm the last one to get fired. It's like, no, you're too good. I'm like, no, I'll start sucking. Fucking, like, I'll start not doing my job. Not that kind of sucking, but I'll start not doing my job. No,
He was already doing that.
no judgment.
Apparently, I was doing that or something because they laid 5 people off, and I wasn't one of them. And but yeah, I was like, please, because at that time I had my radio show style podcast called Hip Hop Hour, and it was starting to gain some traction. Well, at least I thought so. And I'm like, yo, lay me off. I could do so much more growth with this shit if I have all this time. Like, no, you're too important. So you were lucky enough to at least get laid off to where you could start on your projects.
Yeah, well, and that was the fucked up thing is they're like, yeah, it's just gonna be like 2 or 3 weeks. The timing was perfect, right? Because my wife had to go in for knee surgery, so like literally the first Monday I was supposed to be going to work that I didn't go to work, I drove her to the hospital instead so she could get her surgery. And then I spent the next 2 weeks playing nursemaid, like, here, honey, here, I brought you some soup. Let me change your ice packs on your knee for you. How you doing? I'm a great husband. You love me.
And you didn't even have to take any PTO or
Yeah,
vacation.
didn't have to take any PTO, nothing. It was amazing. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then we realized I was hovering a little too much. I was helicopter husbanding or whatever you want to call it. She's like, dude, get the fuck away from me for a while. And she's like, weren't you going to remodel the bathroom? I'm like, yeah, you're right. I should do that. Because we had a jacuzzi tub in our master bathroom and it started leaking. So I'd cut that out. And then I was like, oh, look, mold. Fantastic. So I wound up having to cut out the subfloor and reframe the walls. And I built this whole big walk-in shower. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should finish that. Because I started that on the weekend 2 weeks ago. And
it was cool, but during that COVID time when it proved out when you give people money to not work, which I thought was awesome. It was a really excellent social experiment. At that time, we didn't close, but we went to remote. So I worked from home for 5 months, and it was awesome. And the house I bought, we had lived in, had a basement that was unfinished. So I finished the basement, but you'd go to any of the Menards, Home Depot kind of places. I remember I went in there because I needed like 27 sheets of drywall, and they didn't have any. 1/2-inch drywall, 4x8. I'm like, how do you not have drywall? It's like everybody's making their stuff right now.
Yep.
And it was, you couldn't get it, and then it was expensive, and then it was like $14 a sheet for 1/2-inch drywall. I'm like, come on, I'm trying to do this myself. I can hire a guy if I'm going to pay $14 a sheet, for crying out loud.
yeah, exactly.
Well, when I got my checks, that's when I got introduced to Bitcoin. So, I bought what is it? Almost $4,000, or what is it? $3,000 worth of Bitcoin with all that money.
This will get you, Bruce. So you used fiat money to buy fake money.
Oh,
Mike drop.
No, and triggered.
You are covered. Now I'm triggered.
And there goes Ken. Oh, he must have had technical difficulties.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, yeah, we can't hear him anymore. So am I the only one that got forced to work not just one job, but 2 people's jobs in the same company after everybody else got laid off?
I was still working.
Okay, well, at least
Jason.
Were you in remote or no?
I was, they pushed us remote, which was awesome because I hate cubicles with a passion.
Right.
So
yeah, I was in the
loved it.
I was in the motorcycle industry, so that every state's governor said, go ride a motorcycle, buy a motorcycle, go ride. It's the only thing you can do right now. and it was crazy. So developing parts and testing parts was great because no one was on the roads. Nobody. It was awesome. One of the things we developed was a wireless phone charger, and I got a new iPhone and put it in, and I was on a Harley, and it had Bluetooth to the Harley because I was listening to it, and I put it in, and I didn't realize that if you hold the two buttons together on the older ones, they call the cops. So I'm Bluetoothed into the motorcycle. So I put the thing in, I drive away. 5 minutes later, the motorcycles answer me, "Hey, 911, what's your emergency?" And I'm like, this is a weird commercial, because I'm just listening to the radio. And I didn't have any mic or anything, so I couldn't talk back or answer or nothing like this. And it just kept happening. I drove 50 miles to go to work, so I lived 50 miles away. So every town I went through, it kept dialing all of the different. And I finally had to stop and pull over. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I mean, I didn't see 3 cars in 50 miles. But I had to stop and figure out. I'm like, I pulled over the side of the road. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I called them back, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And they're like, yeah, check your iPhone. Oh, yeah, I got a new iPhone. Yeah, if you hold those buttons together, you're going to call us. It happens all the time. Shit.
Well, at least they knew what the problem was.
So being in the outside, I'm assuming that you're in the outskirts of Chicago. Is that correct?
Yeah. Technically, I live in the southwest suburbs, but there's kind of, and they keep trying to change it, but it drives.
Out of small arms fire range.
Doubt, no doubt that gives you plenty of content and material that you can produce on the podcast.
But there's actually an interstate I-80, and basically they say if you're south of I-80, you're not part of the Chicago metro area. And thankfully, I do live south of I-80, so. But I work like 20 minutes from downtown, so yeah, I am in a Chicago suburb, and it is what it is. I mean,
is it suburb? Is it rural or agricultural? Is it actual suburb of Chicago?
Well, it used to be rural.
Yeah.
I
understand. Yeah.
Like when I moved out here, I could go out, sit on the back porch, smoke a cigar, listen to the crickets, look at the stars, sip a glass of whiskey, feel like I was living a good life. Now I go outside and it kind of smells like, burning plastic and cough syrup. And
So people are smoking weed, that's what you're saying. Okay.
No, I'm saying they're cooking meth. Like, I haven't figured out which house it is yet. I'm just waiting for something to blow the fuck up. Yeah. And
I've being from Indiana, I've seen when apartment buildings blow up for fucking meth labs. So just make sure it's not your direct neighbors.
Yeah. Oh no, I have a theory. I just don't have any proof.
Okay. As long as it's at least a couple houses away, you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, no, they're like across the street. So
okay.
down the road. It's good.
You'll be good. I saw one, it exploded in an apartment in upstairs that had like I think it had like 15 units in it and something like that. And it burnt the whole motherfucker to the ground and caught the building right next to it on fire too. A little bit, like half on fire.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you drop out of middle school, watch 2 episodes of Breaking Bad, and think you're going to be the next Walter White.
Well, this is before Breaking Bad, so they definitely didn't have an education.
Yeah. Well, even better. But yeah, like I said, I got my suspicions about which house it is, and I've had a conversation with those neighbors. Like, look, I don't want to be a dick, but if any of my stuff comes up missing, I'm coming to you before I go to the cops.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a talk.
Just make sure you go check your air conditioning unit every day. Make sure it's still good.
Yeah, it's on camera.
You just tell them that you have lime and a shovel, and you usually get
No. I have about 45 gallons of hydrogen peroxide and some sulfuric acid. It's much cleaner.
There you go, much cleaner.
Theoretically, hypothetically, I saw a video on YouTube.
You can learn anything on YouTube. YouTube is great.
Really can.
Yes, you can. You want to look it up? You want to find out how to do it? I'm telling you. Although I screwed up my freaking garage door opener today, but that's another story for down the way. But
but yeah, I just realized I never did answer your question. So August of 2020 was when I started the podcast, and I started it because my wife was getting sick of me, and I had been talking about it since like 2016-ish.
Just remember that.
A couple of my friends were like, "Dude, you should start a podcast. You tell the best friggin' stories, dude. You gotta start a podcast." And yeah, I mean, you guys, I do talk a lot. I talk fairly fluently. I can generally hold somebody's attention, which a current, not to plug my own Patreon or anything, but I just stuck out a bonus or patron episode or whatever last week for it's called The Amazing Clown Story, and it's a story, and I told the story, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it is there, and it's a prime example of one of those reasons why people were telling me you talk a lot and you talk good, you should do a show. And that, and my degenerate buddies who are like my local scumbags I hang out with, that we'd be sitting around talking shit, cracking jokes on the porch or whatever, and we would just be like, they'd be like, man, you should be recording this, we should get a TV show, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I mean, yeah.
Well, who's going to do all this stuff? That's what I always say.
Like, who's going to do the legwork?
Yeah.
I mean,
you can edit and you can do this and you can come. It's like I don't have time to do everything.
When it's a bunch of guys that want to drink liquor and smoke weed and listen to me crack jokes all day, they're not editing it. I'm not letting them edit anything.
Yeah, I wouldn't
look like an idiot.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine. Just put it up. It's fine. You don't need to edit it.
That's why I have my 3 co-hosts.
Yeah.
So you just have your Patreon. Do you also have like the subscription portion on Spotify as well too, to where you can put your bonus content up there and they can subscribe?
Actually, no. I still haven't gotten around to setting that up, because when I set everything up initially, that didn't exist. And
yeah, that's kind of a newer addition to Spotify for podcasters.
Like when before I launched the first episode of the show, I had a Patreon set up, I had a Buy Me a Coffee set up, I had a website set up. I had everything ready to go before I even pulled the trigger on it, because again, I was home all the time and I am sleep deprived, and I need things to keep me occupied, or I start going stir crazy. And in particular, that's how the show came about, because I was driving my wife nuts. And so she got me a microphone for my birthday, and I had, not a fancy mic, because she was smart enough to go, I'm not buying you like a $300 mic if you're gonna do this for 3 weeks and then say fuck it. Okay. So she just ordered me a little starter set off of Amazon. It's actually that mic right there, which is now my second seat mic, or however you want to look at it. I've yet to do any in-house guests, particularly because it's kind of cramped in here right now. But once I get that freaking bed and everything out here, I'm gonna do a little more soundproofing and turn this into an actual recording room.
Harco's going to use it for Nikki Haley when she comes over.
Well, I'll mail you the mattress, but the frame's going to cost a fortune to ship, because it's a big friggin'. It's like a reddish.
I'm a very simple person. I don't need a bed frame. There's still the mattress on the floor. We're gonna scoot around on the motherfucker anyway, so it's all good.
Oh, there you go. It's a queen size. It should give you plenty of room for acrobatics.
It's all good. I'll just tell her it's her size bed. It's a queen's for the queen. You know what I'm saying? Make her feel good. You gotta get in their head a little bit before we get between their legs. You know what I'm saying? You know how it goes. You guys know. You guys are all married. Fuck. What was telling you for?
And there's
I used to know. It's been.
Well, that's a different.
I've been married for damn near 20 years. I don't remember any of that crap anymore.
Oh, that's a different story.
34, man.
So you don't put your stuff on video as well too?
No, because see this? Yeah, no, this is not a face that sells albums, as John Popper once said.
Look at the company you're keeping right now.
Well, there's that.
None of us are exactly.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
no,
I get that portion, but I was thinking about it for the marketing element. Like you put the video up on YouTube. Obviously, YouTube's a video platform. You have it up on Spotify for video as well too. But then even you can take clips out of it, put up on the socials for marketing and stuff too.
Yeah. Well, and I do intend to get around to that eventually. But like I said, initially, I started out with a microphone and it plugged into my laptop, which is a Chromebook. So you're talking about editing on that just for audio? Suck donkey dick. And I wasn't even going to try and start doing video on that thing. I was like, you got to get me.
Especially in 2020, the technology wasn't there yet.
Oh, yeah, no. Hard fucking pass. I was just like, no, talking's good. Talking gets it off my chest. I can rant and rave, and so I started doing a few little episodes trying to get my catch my stride and all this other stuff. And then some shit goes down, and next thing you know, my hometown's on fucking fire. And
Yep.
Yeah.
and I did like 7 or 8 straight days of recording, just venting about this shit and calling everybody assholes and trying to justify to myself why I wasn't in my car hanging out with my family, because I love my family that's still there dearly, but they're a bunch of candy asses, and I was really concerned for their safety. So I was like, I reached out to a couple of my cousins, like, if you guys need to bug out, my dad's out of town now. You can go there. You can come here. I'm thinking about going to Grandpa's house and setting up shop and making sure the mostly peaceful people stay the fuck out of our neighborhood.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for those mostly peaceful people.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, I myself can be mostly peaceful when I need to. So,
Yeah.
I had during that time, I had a conversation with our chief of police in my town, and I said, because I was at that time living in a suburb of Minneapolis, and the BLM Nazis, I'm going to call them because that's what they fucking were, were saying, oh, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. And they started parking cars with no license plates and started, pallets of cinder blocks and things would show up in various places all of a sudden. So I called
bricks appear.
Yeah, I called my chief of police, and I said, you guys, I'm on your side. Know this, but you're going to come down a road. You're going to see a guy in a roof with an AR or two, and that's me. I'll also have my phone, and I will direct you what I see. And I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not a violent person, but one motherfucker steps in my yard, and it's on. It's just on at that point, because I figure if they step one step into past the offset of the street into that little no man's land that the town has, I said, as soon as they're in there, see that tree right there? One step past that tree, it's over. Well, sir, you shouldn't. I'm like, I said, here's my name, here's my address. If you want to come and talk about it, come on over and let's have a discussion. I said, but that's what's going to happen, and I've got my whole neighbors. We've marked out the neighborhood. We know what's going to happen. No one's going to have a problem in our neighborhood. So go where they're going to need the help.
That's I can get that.
They didn't like it.
No, they don't.
But they didn't come over either.
That's also true. I believe it. When that stuff was going on here, and it got to the point where then when the festivities broke out in Chicago, and they basically spent several nights burning all of the financial district.
That was terrible.
And looting and taking everything. And then they had those clowns that were on camera, like talking to news reporters. Yeah, we're coming to the suburbs next. And,
yep. Good luck.
and yeah, that's kind of how it went. But now the closest larger scale town that some people may or may not have heard of, that next to the little town I live in, would be Joliet, which Joliet, Jake, et cetera, et cetera. The town with all the prisons, as a lot of people refer to it. They had their own little micro riots going on there. I mean, they were not nearly as big of a deal as the stuff going on in Chicago, but like a bunch of stand-up citizens broke into one of the local dealerships and stole a whole bunch of brand new Chargers in one night, which was funny because apparently these geniuses didn't stop and go, it's 2020. Every one of these cars has OnStar, GPS, security. Yeah, no, they had them all back in like 8.5 hours. Right. So it was not well thought out chicanery, but they were doing the same thing. Oh, we're coming out your way, and da-da-da-da-da. And there's like one major artery from Joliet to where I live that there's like one solid choke point because there's some natural stuff to kind of make that area.
Now I feel like I missed out on something as a car guy. A Hellcat would have been, if I've got 8 hours before they find us, I could have a lot of fun in 8 hours in a Hellcat. I'm just saying.
8 hours, I can get the freaking GPS out of the damn thing. But, yeah. But I'm wired different. And when I'm up to my shenanigans, I'm thinking, a little more advanced than just like, I'm a boost this thing and go joyriding.
Right.
I'm going, all right. Got to get the VIN number off the dash. We got to get the VIN number off the transmission. We got to pull this GPS computer. You got to have a lot of forethought if you want to keep your car. And I just know that from video games and YouTube.
Yeah, there's a lot of
But-
things that you got to take into consideration when you go to steal
I'd
a
have
car.
that motor and tranny out and sitting there and something in my backyard so fast. I'm like, I don't know what happened to the car.
I don't know. No,
It's 840 horsepower Demon Hellcat motor just showed up, fell out
No,
of the
no.
sky.
Kidding, that would have been in my shed. No, the shed's fine. No, don't worry about that.
Man, I'm
But-
trying to find it. I had footage from whenever I went to the protests at where I'm at here in Indiana, and I remember that I went there. I must not have the videos anymore; it's been too long. But I went there, and I remember everything was cool and everything like that. And then, but I remember when I was leaving, I lived kind of close to the state police post. Is where I live, and then I was driving into town because I live outside of town. And whenever I went by the state police post, they had all the cop cars possible behind the gate. Like every state police car in the fucking county was in that one lot. And I'm like, oh, because I'm ex-military. I'm like, oh, got it. Okay. And
Yep.
so then, I went into town and everything like that, and I strategically parked. So I was like 6 blocks away from the square because everything was supposed to be downtown at the courthouse. I was like 6 blocks away at the square where I could, it was a straight shot. I knew exactly where I was parked. So I could get there and then I could haul ass and I'd be outside of any quarter, right? So even if I had to I'd be on foot, I can get around things quicker, get outside of the cordon and then fucking go, and then I was on my side of town so I could just shoot outside of town and get to my house because I live outside town. But anyway, whenever I was going, I was walking around. I met up with a couple other people that happened to be there that I knew, and kind of hanging out, blah blah blah. And then the protest ended up being a march, and it went up to the police station, not the one I told you about, but the city police station. And that was interesting too because they had a couple drones flying up, and they had all the cops were on the roof and shit like that, and people were spray painting on the doors and shit like that. It was fucking dumb. But
Harkness is a little anarchist there, man.
and then everybody just goes down, and then we end up going across the river into the other part of the town. They went up. I have no fucking clue what they did, but then they came back. When they came back, that's when shit started getting crazy. That's when people started showing up. They had some makeshift explosives and stuff like that. Tried to bust open, they tried to blow open one of the doors down in the bottom section of the courthouse. And they went up into the top corner of the courthouse, and they were cracking at the windows and stuff like that, trying to break into the door. Excuse me, but there was some sheriffs inside the courthouse, because they're always on duty inside courthouses. Apparently these dumbasses don't know that. So I'm outside, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm just what the fuck? And all of a sudden, it was crazy because the crowd started getting extra hyped. And I'm just okay, I'm just sitting there filming the whole motherfucker. And I saw a dude fucking crack out a fucking black Antifa flag and start fucking flying and everything like that. And I'm just well, that's interesting because I don't live in a major city. And then
It's
all
all
of a
those
sudden,
Boston Soros people.
huh? Yeah,
All
exactly.
the Boston Soros people.
Yeah, well, my theory is the reason that we went up across the river up into the hill was we went up to the college campus and came back. And when we went up there, that's when they picked up people. You know what I'm saying? And that was my theory, at least. And because everything was chill until then. And then, so this is 10 o'clock at night. And then, so they start breaking into the courthouse. But then all of a sudden, they just backed off and started running. And everybody was oh, there's a gun, they got a gun or whatever, right? And they're talking about the cops inside. I'm well, yeah, there's cops inside, you dumb fucks, right? Well, then they went back at it, right? And kept going in and everything like that. And you saw somebody, people were busting at the fucking door and everything like that and trying to get in and everything. It was interesting. So, and then all of a sudden, I saw coming down the hill just a bunch of cop car lights. I was like, all right. So I told my guys, I was hey, we gotta get going. they're like, what? They're what are you talking about? I was we gotta get going, right?
Yeah, you want to be there at that point.
Yeah, and so then they come and they block off see there's 4 or 5 streets that pour in, and they blocked off half of them, right? And it's it funnel people out in certain ways and everything, and then just push the rest of the people. Well, they came in, and all of a sudden I hear the toom, toom, toom. I was oh shit, fucking tear gas, right? And so all of a sudden it comes in, it's boom, 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 and everything like that. Well, I'm sitting here videotaping it and everything, And some people start running and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to fucking run. I know how to handle myself, right? And for whatever reason, call it what you will, but I'm like super calm and focused in situations like that. When shit goes crazy, I'm like, I don't know. But so then one of the guys I was with, apparently he never had tear gas, and I've had experience. And so he's like, like rubbing his eyes and stuff like that. I'm like, I grab him. My eyes weren't even burning. I'm like, hey, stop rubbing your fucking eyes. Come on, let's go. And I'm like, I got him by the hand. This dude's like 6'4", right? Got him by the hand. I'm like leading him out of the smoke, and like it wasn't even bothering me because it was so fucking weak and so aerated. And compared to whenever I was in the military and we were in a fucking small ass room and they cracked off like 7 of those in that motherfucker and had us take off our masks. That would, you talk about burning, man. You could see sparkles in the fucking air inside of the building. They had so much fucking pepper spray going. The air was sparkling. Okay. So as soon as you take that off, you're like, and you just can't fucking breathe. Snot's going everywhere, anything like that. But it didn't affect me. So I'm like sitting here, like leading the blind or whatever, right? And so I told him to stop rubbing his fucking, because he kept wanting to rub his eyes. I'm like, dude, no, that's not what you just blink. And so I get him and the fuck out of there. We start going. I see a couple of the other guys I was with or whatever, and I'm like, hey, get to this place. I'm not gonna say the name, but I was like, hey, get to this place. And they're like, why over there? I'm like, that's where my car's parked. I'm like, okay. So we're going. Well, we get outside the court and everything like that, and everybody must have went everywhere else because we were the only ones walking down the street for like 3 blocks until we got to my truck. And then of course we got to my truck. And it's just a single cab pickup truck. So I got 2 guys in the back and 1 guy up front, and we just fucking haul ass, and I just go drop them off and shit like that. But I have the video somewhere. I gotta find this shit because they had video of like the Antifa guy and everything like that, and everything. Because everybody's like, "Oh, Antifa wasn't there." I'm like, I got the fucking video.
So Aaron, so getting back onto the podcast. That's all right.
Story time from PODCASE.
So lately, well, actually, at the beginning of your podcast, you had plenty of content to do. And of course, being in the outskirts of Chicago and being part of the Pulse of Chicago, you have lots of content there. But we got lots of content coming up with Trump and Biden and the State of the Union address. I'm actually chomping at the bit to find out what you have to say about.
What do you think of the mumble of the Union?
Oh yeah, I had a bingo card that I got from my buddies at the Whiskey Hell podcast, which is a great one. You guys should check out if you haven't. They're pretty on the stick. They cover news. They're generally, it's pretty straightforward. They multi-source their stuff. They're good guys. So we did a bingo card in this little group chat that they got going, and yeah, it was almost a blackout card for everything that was on there. I think the only thing, there was like one thing on there that didn't get dinged for
that's a cool graphic.
The State of the Union. And my thing was, it was basically the 2023 speech with a couple of, name swaps. And that's about it. We had
I've heard that he's had the same speech with a little bit of remix for the last like 3 or 4 years. I heard some other people talking about that.
There's a remix going around.
No, it really is. They can't take him too far off a base, or he's going to start to ramble and go off script and
Which he did. I thought we pointed that out because we did a live reaction to it or whatever, and I'm like, oh shit, he's freestyling right there.
And you can always tell when he did too, because it was. Yeah, but with the Lake and Riley thing and all that stuff, where he gets her name wrong, calls the guy an illegal, and the next day apologizes for saying illegal.
Yeah, he said "an illegal." Like that's when the real dude is coming out.
Yeah, that's legitimate, because like
it would have been so much better if he called him a racial slur, because that's what he really calls him in his private time.
If there's no cameras around,
dude, that would have been awesome.
Who the hell this
if he went off script and called him a racial slur, the internet would have been insane for that shit.
Yeah, it would have been priceless, and they would have been trying so hard to scrub it, but hey.
My biggest takeaway from the speech was actually the longevity of the speech. I couldn't believe he got through 90 minutes, but they had him hyped up.
They have the best blow in the White House. Okay, he was in Hunter's personal stash at this point. Okay, guys, let's go get out there, get this speech done, and yeah, I mean, because also if you watch as he was like doing the little walking out amongst the sycophants, you could kind of see it was wearing off, and I haven't heard for sure if it's right or not, but there's like a couple of hot mic things that they picked up as he was walking out where he thought he was talking to safe people, didn't realize he was still mic'd up, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
I haven't heard that. What did he supposedly say?
Something about Netanyahu.
Netanyahu was Bibi's got 3 days. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to do this, that, and the other. And God, what was the other one? The other one was just like some inappropriate remark. It wasn't like anything global. It was just
see the
like
tits on that guy. Is that what he said?
Something like that.
He was voting for Trump, is what he said. I'm voting for Trump. I don't know what you're doing. That's what he said.
I thought actually getting him to the podium was like, holy God! It took for freaking ever to get him to the podium. He just had to have a selfie with everybody, and it was all this.
Baby
that's a whole nother thing too. The way those fucking like sycophantic. Every time he finished a sentence. It's like, holy shit, what are we applauding? The fact that he got to a period? Yeah. I mean, Jesus fucking.
Yeah, I haven't seen Kamala go up and down that much in a while since last time she was at my house.
Yeah.
Well, Willie Brown absolutely knows what that feels like.
Yes. But no, and that was the thing. I was watching it live with a couple of my friends. I didn't originally intend to watch it because I was like, what's my blood pressure at today? I'm like, 144/82. I don't know if I should be watching the State of the Union. I might vapor lock. But
I figured you would have done like a live reaction to it or something.
I almost did. I was very on the fence about it. I wanted having a couple of work cocktails before I came home. So I got home late and I was like, you know what? I don't even have time to get set up. I'm just gonna stay chill and enjoy my little buzz I got on, and then
you were saner than most of us because some of us were actually blowing a gasket, and my blood.
Oh no, I still blew a gasket. I actually had to apologize to the people I was watching it with because it was we were doing it through a Zoom meeting, and so I was still sitting in my room. I just didn't have like the time to set everything up to record, so I was sitting here on the monitor just watching it, and like we were just chatting in a group chat over, and I'm like yelling at the fucking computer monitor repeatedly, and like when he starts in on his we need to ban high capacity magazines and assault weapons again, and I'm like, motherfucker, I could assault you with a tomato plant. Kiss my fucking ass. Stack up, you geriatric fuck. And I'm literally screaming this shit at the computer, and then like, guys, I'm sorry, that was really fucking loud. I don't know what got into me, and then the people I'm watching, we know what got into you. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's fair.
Well, whenever you hear somebody say a blatant lie, you can't just sit there and real humans, not mindless drones, but real humans can't just sit there and actually just say, oh yeah. You can't. You gotta be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like we were pointing that kind of shit out when we were sitting there watching it as well too. It's just like when he said the AR-15, stuff like that. I'm like, they used to say weapons of war. My 9mm, aka the M9 in the military, is a weapon of war. So what? That's banned too now. So that's the rolling down the hill, slippery slope shit.
Well, and that's the key of the phrasing. They use that language deliberately because it's open to so much interpretation. I mean, like I said, I can have a brick of war. And in Biden's case, I'm actually pretty sure I could take him out with a tomato plant if I really applied myself. I mean, I know I look pretty squishy, but there is some muscle under there. I promise. I could throw a tomato pretty fucking hard.
You have to use the pointy end.
Yeah, get the stem.
Yeah, get the stem. Stem first. The pointy end. It'll get him.
But
Shane Gillis has a good bit about that. He was like, I think what he said. He said that Trump would be the funniest to see get assassinated because he would make a noise Whenever it happened, he'd be like, "Oh," or something like that. He said, but I think Biden is the only one that you can actually punch assassinate.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Assassin slap.
Yeah, exactly. Just like one, just okay, he's done. You know?
And it wouldn't even have to be like a Mike Tyson punch. It could be
No,
like,
just like a 7-year-old. Just
yeah, I was gonna say, it could be
And
like that
that's
one
how
time
they
when my
kick us
kid
off
was
of
really
YouTube.
mad at me and took a swing at me and hit me right in the nuts.
Well, it actually hit me. It did. My whole reaction to it. I mean, when we were doing it live, and even after our little discussion after. Now we get to keep you after because we're going to get into some bonus content later. But the thing that it didn't hit me till the morning, and I'm all like, "This motherfucker, he just yelled at me, and he yelled at me the whole freaking speech. I mean, he yelled at me." And he told me that I need to be totally dependent on the government, and I had to do all these things because I had to protect our democracy. And no doubt that's what they want. They want a democracy, man. They don't want any representation anymore. They want democracy. And just to really after listening to it, after sleeping on it and waking up that one morning, and then I just posted on your Discord, going like, "That motherfucker just freaking yelled at me."
Yep. Like, this son of a bitch just did it. I feel like I was getting, like, he caught me with my hand in the cookie jar, but the problem is I paid for the fucking cookies and I paid for the jar, and he's still talking shit. I mean, and this is the problem where this is like angry, ranty Aaron stuff comes from, is I really don't appreciate. I mean, if you're gonna fuck me, at least kiss me first, you know? And so I'm getting fucked, but I'm getting yelled at for not appreciating that I'm getting fucked unconsensually. And it's like, no, creepy grandpa man. I mean, you stick to worrying about whether they're going to change the formulation of Head and Shoulders because you don't like the new flavor. And I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to worry about my life, and you're going to shut the fuck up. And like I said, oh, well, we're going to come ARs. And I'm stack up, old man. These motherfuckers are so quick to talk about this shit that is going to set somebody on a path to somebody's going to fucking die.
Right.
It's not necessarily going to be. I mean, either way, I'm not out here stumping for anybody to die. Okay, that's a lie. There are plenty of people I think need to die. However, I really don't feel that people should need to die because somebody wants to be tyrannical, and I really don't think somebody else should die because some asshole said it's your job. Go take this guy's guns because of what I believe.
Right.
And that's what's going to happen. All the people that are really pro, like all the really statist motherfuckers that are out here saying, well, you know, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And the government's got tanks and planes and guns and you can't fight off the government with your AR. And I'm like, laughs in fucking rice field. Okay. But ultimately, sorry, getting worked up here. Ultimately, the thing about this is all these like state and I'm including and lumping in all these parasitic pieces of shit in Washington, D.C., everybody in the Beltway, that entire corrupt little tumor of this fucking country is real keen on the idea of forcing you to agree with their beliefs at the barrel of a gun, but they're never the ones getting behind the trigger. Right. They're really keen on letting somebody else die for their values and their beliefs, whereas they're fighting people that are willing to die for what they believe in, and there's a huge inequity there. And that was the thing that keeps popping up in my mind is all these white pantsuits wearing assholes clapping for the fucking dementia patient up here, threatening half the country with physical violence when they don't want to comply with a tyrannical rule. And they don't see this. And I honestly, at this point, I really believe they don't see it. It's a huge blind spot in their own worldview. They don't realize people that don't share your values aren't going to be as keen on dying for what you want just because you think you should tell them to. So they're pushing way too hard for not having the kind of leverage and support they actually think they do.
Well, I think what you said right there is very, very key. The ones who want something done are not the ones who are going to get behind the gun and make sure it gets done.
Correct.
And see, that's where their facsimile of power actually shines so bright. Is the fact that, you know, it's a very small minority of people that are ruling us. And just like we saw the backlash when Obama wanted to go to war in Syria and they had all the military blacking their face out with the fucking thing that said, no, I won't fucking go, fuck you. And then when they had the COVID mandatory shit, I personally know a couple of people who got out because of that, and the government, like the military, even kind of tarnished their records whenever they did that too. But they're going back now. They're saying, "Oh, we're sorry," and so there's like doing an apology tour right now because they knew how many people actually got the fuck out, and then they had so much backlash over it. But just simple shit like that, it shows you that the people who run the country at the managerial level aren't the people who make it operate, because the people that make the country operate, they're the ones who are just gonna be like, no, and that's all they gotta do is just be like, no, thank you. Like a lot of people talk about, well, the people that got the guns, you're pushing us. It's like, nah, the people that got the guns, we just gotta go, shut the fuck up. And then the other people are gonna be like, okay.
And that's what most of what they push the gun thing, and it's a game of inches. They push the gun thing. We're going to take away we're going to ban assault weapons. We're going to do all this again. And what they're really looking for is some little increment that they can say, look, see, we got this done, and we compromised, and we put together some comprehensive, common sense gun control, which to me is just hitting targets. That's it.
Like, common sense gun control is use both hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Comprehensive. It's like, what are you not comprehending what the fuck the Second Amendment says when it says shall not be infringed? Like, how about that comprehensive gun control?
Hey, Aaron, do you have time to stick around? We'd like to do some bonus content with you.
Oh, for sure.
Fantastic. Well, hey, I'm just going to give you the chance right now because we're up against a hard stop, and we want to make sure that we just really appreciate you coming on to the podcast. We'd like to give you this opportunity right now to go ahead and just promote anything you want to promote right now. I'm gonna throw your website up here on the window, and you can just go as you wish.
All right. Well, first off, again, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I was looking forward to talking to you guys. Basically, I had to say it. You put it in any of the podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, all the platforms. It's even on YouTube. Actually, there's just no video. And you see someone with a big screaming gorilla face, you're at the right page. That's where you go do the ranty. And I'm working on getting more bonus content out for the subscriber people because I feel like you guys are supporting me. I should probably do something to be grateful. Just unfortunately, life keeps kicking me in the nuts. And my little hobby sometimes gets put on the back burner in the name of needing a functioning toilet and shit like that. So just saying, real life happens. And but I'm working on being better about it. So not that like I said, I appreciate anybody and everybody that wants to show the love and show the support. But at the other hand, the free stuff's all still going to be there. I always say I do this as much for me as for anybody that actually listens. So even if I had nobody listening, I'd probably still be putting the show out. So
Anyway, that's
and your Discord server too.
People here too, and we
our Discord server. I forgot.
Yeah, we do life all the same here. We gotta not play the game because that's the only winning move. And we want to thank you again, for being on the podcast, man. It was fantastic to hear you. We're gonna catch you on the other side. So anybody who wants to go and listen to some bonus content, it's gonna be posting next Sunday. And all you got to do is just hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, hit that like button. Do all those things, man. And like I said, from Bruce, myself, Harkos, Jason, Ken, and Aaron, we want to wish you guys a great night. And hey, be good to yourself, guys. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
We got one last.
More clown stories.
Okay, Javi, I'll tell another clown story. Jeez.
We'll see you later, guys. Have a good one.